Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. We are back. We are back. I don't know if you thought we left, but we did leave, and now we're back. We are back once again. Hello and welcome in, everyone. This is Sky, where Sky, gives you 10 minutes or less. We shoot for 10 minutes. It's kind of a running joke at this point because I don't even know if we are still hitting that mark. But again, brief 10 minutes or less of content. Again, these are just my scattered thoughts in between scripting videos, having conversations with community members. These are just general thoughts. If you all have comments or like follow up, sometimes these turn into full blown scripted videos, sometimes not. Either way, we're just here to have conversations and enjoy the time. If you are hearing this, we are in the first week of Lightfall, so shout out to that. With us being in the first week of Lightfall, you also see we have an updated uh, ambiance, to so to say, for the Sky. We always want to improve, we always want to get better, and as you all support the stream, as you all support me, we want to continue to improve and get better. But that said, today's topic and I think regardless, I'm going to make a longer video about this. I'm just kind of like pulling together different data points. But today we want to talk about upping the ante. I actually don't know the origin of that phrase, so hopefully it's not like a terrible, like racist phrase origin, but up the ante, just generally talking about the difficulty changes to the systems in general. Like again, I would just say just the enemy systems and the enemy fighting systems, but just in general with the nerf to resilience, which we talked about on scattered thoughts, as well as the general difficulty of playing the game and things having modifiers that, well, just the general modifiers of being in game and having the different like burns and surges and all those things. But now enemies are tougher to beat because we will be locked at a certain level once we get to end game. And although we're not at end game yet, it's literally the first week. No one's there. Not even your favorite top tier players there yet. Um, Everyone's still grinding. But as we're getting closer, and even myself, I've hit soft cap. I've done the legend campaign on two of my characters. I'm about to do it on my last character, my hunter, on stream. So if you do want to support, well, it depends on when this goes live, but either way, support. There, you either catch me live or you'll catch the VOD. But the main purpose of all of that being that there is from Bungie that there is just a lot of conversation. I'd say if we're being honest, I really would say it was mainly from higher end top tier players, but just a general consensus for a while now. I'd say even pre Witch Queen of just like wanting harder difficulty in the game, additional opportunities for folks to just really just be slapped in the face, like up and down by the enemies. And Bungie did that. The first kind of test of that was the legendary campaign. Um, I have a lot of thoughts that I'm actually working on a different video. There's a kind of do a breakdown of the legendary campaign. But for me to get that first sense of how Bungie upped the ante and really made us being in game a little bit more challenging, I'm gonna have to say I have mixed feelings. I really thought, and maybe by the time I finish the other video, I'll have stronger feelings. But as of right now, playing it through on my Warlock Legend solo, playing it on my Titan Legend solo, I enjoyed the campaign. I have some feedback points about the campaign itself, but like when I think about the difficulty in game, playing on my Warlock first, being 20 to 30 levels under light, just in terms of like the level of gear that we are getting, and then the recommended level for each of the missions. I think there's like 10 missions total, 9 or 10 missions. Um, we're 20 to 30 levels under, right? And so there was just a deficit. And to feel that deficit, I definitely can say that it felt different from the Witch Queen Legendary campaign. It felt different in a way that like the Legendary Witch Queen campaign felt difficult, but it felt manageable because at the end of the day, I knew that we would level up and that we would engage, with the power grinding system and then be able to get to a point where our gear and everything still felt really challenging. And then that proved to be right, less challenging rather, because that proved to be right is that we grinded the Witch Queen. When we debranded it was like we were getting just slapped in the face and just getting beat left and right. But like when we leveled up and then we went back to play the campaign missions, they just were a lot easier and they were just kind of a face roll at that point. And I think the challenge that Bungie had to overcome was like, how do you have high replay value for in-game content as well as campaign mission content? And I think they got close. I don't know that they hit the mark. I think that they got close. One of the examples being the Tormentors. For anyone who's played the campaign up to this point, you know about the Tormentors. I think the way that they designed and coded the Tormentors was spot on. Similar to the Light Bearers and the Witch Queen, that level of aggression in a um, enemy character just absolutely what we need. We need them to be mobile. We need them to not like stand in one place as we shoot them and then just die. Like again, we don't want the game to be inaccessible, but the thing that the light bearers from Witch Queen have, and then the tormentors from Lightfall have, is this ability to have a level of aggression that, to me, when you're under level, feels bad, a little bit bad. I'm not gonna hold you; it feels a little bit bad, but it's not dominating to the point where like you feel hopeless. It's like, oh, this is tough. Oh, this kind of sucks. But then as you grind more, get better gear, get better weapons, you feel more at a level playing field, so to speak. And I think that's ultimately where we landed with the light bearers as well. Is we got stronger throughout the campaign, we got stronger throughout just grinding the game. But I still go back to those missions and still feel, like we was a little bit of a tussle with the light bearers, right? And I feel a similar sensation of just feeling like I was kind of getting my ass handed to me when I played on my warlock because it was my first character. And then obviously, pro strat, you change your weapons over after you grind it. So I finished a soul legend on my warlock. And then I came back and put those weapons on my Titan and played it. And although I was slightly higher or at the recommended level for each of the missions because of that, still when we were engaging the tormentors, it felt like I was squared up with someone who was on my level. I wasn't picking on somebody who wasn't my own size. I was fighting somebody who I was a level with. I had to think. I had to figure out where I was going to take cover. I had to figure out how I was going to use my weapons. I couldn't just shoot a bunch of heavy ammo off. Like I had to be precise. And I feel like outside of that dimension, in which I thought a lot of people, a lot of not I thought that a lot of people had fears like, oh, it's just gonna be like overpowering. My first initial thoughts, just like getting this side of the game, I like the way that they up the ante. I like the way that we have that aspect of the game. That said, you're like, well, you said you had mixed feelings. What are the mixed feelings? As much as I like that, the fact that it's only contained for the most part to the tormentors, just like in Witch Queen, it was contained to the light bearers. I just don't know. Similar to the Witch Queen, like after like we got the general purposes of the campaign mission and we defeated the Savathun, like I wasn't for fun. I wasn't going like no one was going back to those missions for fun. Not at all. Like people went back to like cheese XP, but like there's no need to do that anymore in Lightfall and how the system's set up. And so just being in space force is like I just don't I think they got closer. I think there's a higher replay value on Lightfall because it's new and maybe in 3 months it won't feel that way. But the fact that we're still not there is, I think, a growth opportunity. Honestly, I don't think right now. Again, I'm still, hearing from friends. I'm still playing with folks. I haven't heard like an overwhelming like this was the worst experience ever. I've heard a lot of like this was tough, this was challenging, but I got through it. And even folks who aren't doing legend mode, folks who are just doing their normal campaign mode, being in a space where it's like, oh yeah, that was that was a doozy. It was a challenge. And being in a space where it's like, I think at this point where most folks are under level or at level, it's going to be challenging, and we know that. But for the future, I'm curious about what the upping of the ante actually looks like, and how it actually ends up being for the in-game content. Primarily thinking of when we get to in-game and folks are starting to do, folks are at level and starting to do um consistently like raids and dungeons. Obviously we get the new raid in like a week, 2 weeks, something like that, very soon. It does beg the question, can they actually keep it at a point where it's like fair to everyone in the community, is accessible to everyone in the community, but at the same time we're not just making things that are just going to make you roll your eyes. Um so all in all, we were pressing past the 10-minute mark at this point, but I do want to get this out because um in terms of like first thoughts, in terms of like how we start off the season, I think similar to the launch with Cream, this has been a great launch thus far. I'm looking forward to the seasonal content and all the other aspects of what we're learning. Obviously, no spoils here, but the fact that they've upped the ante, where that lands in the long term for the community, I truly hope that it's going to be in a space where we're not leaving people on the wayside, that we're not letting the systems and some people who are highly skilled, dictate this space where there's a lot of different types of gamers. There's a lot of different types of people who come to this space and wanting this to be a space where like people who want challenge can find that challenge, but then also people who just want to game and be able to enjoy it and, like have a couple bumps in the road so, they can, feel alive, can also have those opportunities. And so, Bungie up the ante. I think there's some good aspects to it. Again, I'm working on a breakdown video that's going to go in more depth. Um, but I'm looking forward to what this means for the future, not just for the future of the rest of the season in terms of once we actually get to the in-game content and how difficult that feels, but then also just like what this means going forward. Because are we going to get more tormentors? Are we going to get more light bearers? Are we going to get more of the aggressive, engaging enemies that people across the board respond well to? Or are we just going to continue to kind of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? You know, we eventually get strong enough to just face roll all of these enemies, and then it's just not engaging. So I don't know. I don't know. A lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings, but the one thing I do know is that it's been a great launch to Lightfall thus far. Been so excited to see how everyone is jumping back in. I think we hit a record. I was reading an article. I didn't verify it, so don't quote me on this. But I saw a tweet that said that we had broke, as a Bungie Destiny community, 300,000 um, users at the launch this week. And so knowing that this is a great opportunity, this is a great opportunity to dive in, this is a great opportunity to come back into the fold. This is a great opportunity to, just join in and be a part of community, whether it's this community or another community. Just get in where you fit in and have a good time. So again, that's my review, first impressions, up the ante. Again, this is part of thoughts that are going into a larger video, but I would be curious about what folks think. Are you finding this absolutely too challenging? Is this a deterrent for you? Is this just not fun? Are you finding this to actually be a pretty balanced challenge? Do you want more? Do you want it harder? Do you want more challenge? All those different things. So let me know in the comments what you all think. And yeah, just looking forward to whenever y'all catch me streaming this next run on my hunter. And then also the other content that will continue to push out. So thanks, y'all. Welcome to Lightfall. Glad to have you here. And yeah, we'll see you Starside.